Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is Arthur G., your host of the Last Call podcast. Today I am here with Michael Waskiewicz. This guest might seem familiar to you because the last time he was on here, we were talking about the Barbook. Recently, some great adventures have come across his path, and we want to talk about, if you haven't noticed a little bit of a trend, we've spoken a lot about veteran and military-owned or partnered brands and spirits, as well as some services such as Whiskey Valor Foundation and Trendsetter Spirits, and among some others. So Michael is actually, this is all connected via him for SupportCraft. Today we get to talk to him, check in on everything new in his life. Even though his missus isn't with us today, she is enjoying herself away from the boys. Shouts to her. So Michael, how you doing, man? Welcome to the back.
I'm good, Arthur. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. This is a blast to do it again, man.
Awesome, man. I know that when we met the first time, things were a little bit different. I was named something else. My show was named something else, and some changes. So I want to get to see what, since our last episode, what's gone on? How you been? How did Barbook turn out? And how'd you end up here?
So Barbook is doing very well. We actually we've just finished up right about now this week. Finished up development with a big industry partner doing direct-to-consumer sales. So now when you flavor match to a profile, you'll match to their inventory and you can buy products. We've also started doing some things with the Barbook to where we are working on licensing our technology out to different industry partners so that they can use the flavor matching in their own websites. So things are going very well. The Barbook is really starting to kill it a little bit. And that's kind of how we came about our next thing, right? And kind of how we came across the veteran stuff is we were playing a lot with the Barbook and getting to know people in the spaces, and we found all these veterans who are doing stuff in the same space, man. So it's awesome.
Do me a favor, for those at home who haven't had the experience with the Barbook, break that down for them, because some of our listeners are new to the show. So.
No, absolutely. So yeah, the Barbook was designed off the theory that if Spotify can tell you your next favorite song just by your likes and reviews, and they do beats and rhythm and all those things, and they pull this data together to tell you your next favorite song. We thought, why can't we do that with flavor profiles? So we built a mobile app that does flavor matching based off of the flavor profiles of different bottles. And we do it to the entire adult beverage industry. We have sodas on there. We have all the way up to low and no alc, THC, alternative beverages. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's flavor profiling. And so we pull the ones and zeros, if you will, the data of a flavor profile of a bottle. We pull it against another. We'll give you a percentage match between those two bottles. And then as you start to like things and interact with the application, it will give you a percentage match to you. So you may pull a bottle of your favorite Wing Lure spirits and learn of a veteran-owned brand and say, man, I've never had that before. I wonder if I'll like it. And it'll say, hey, look, Arthur, this is a 75% match to your flavor profile. You should give it a try.
One of the things I did also enjoy about it, that if you do find someone who has those similar flavor profiles and tastes, and you kind of see some, because some of those reviews are I was entering some of the reviews myself from some of the bottles I enjoyed in spirits. I think you could also get that profile of, like, let's say, hey, Arthur likes similar things. Is that something that's still evolved into that? Was part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you and I have a very similar like, and there's things that you get to try that maybe I didn't necessarily get to try because you're, interacting with all these brands more often, or you're in a different region of the country, but our flavors our taste buds are kind of similar. I can follow you and find out what you like and use it the same way and match my flavor profile to essentially watch what you like. And again, the more you interact with it, it does have some, artificial intelligence that is kind of matching ones and zeros. That works. Yeah. But the one thing that is really cool about this is the Barbook was built independently of artificial intelligence. We didn't use ChatGPT. We didn't use any of these other, bots out there to build this flavor matching profile. We did it, the hard work from the very beginning, and we fenced it off essentially from the AI bots. So we have built artificial intelligence to use within our own circle, but we didn't let it out, if you will. So if you get a flavor match from somebody else on any of these other algorithms that they're pulling, or any of these AI tools are pulling, it's very generic. It's very straightforward. Somebody said bourbon matches to bourbon kind of matching, whereas we'll pull a much more detailed analytics of the flavor profiles. As you know, different spirits taste different, even though they may have the same name.
Yeah. And the other thing I do enjoy also is that for those who don't necessarily drink spirits neat, like he said, there are other options. You could also find cocktail recipes on here. So for those who are trying to learn that too, it's just pretty awesome to me to be able to experiment as well with it, because there's so many books and there's so many sources online. There's so many resources, all this that can become kind of muddy. So having it all in one kind of space makes it significantly easier to me. But
yeah, and so the name, the Barbook, actually, just because you brought that up, the name, the Barbook, comes from the idea that if you were to go back in time a little bit, bartenders would have a literal book behind the bar, and that's where they would keep their, if you would, intellectual property, right? Their cocktail recipes, their customer data, their information about what the products they served and all that kind of stuff. So if you walked into a bar and you walked up and you said, "Hey, Mike, I'm not really sure what I want today, but I like these kind of things." And that interview process that a bartender may have with you, trying to decipher your flavor profile versus the products they carry on hand, we've just now digitized that. And we now keep that as a record to carry on forward so that you can learn that wherever you go.
Yeah. I remembered when it first came out, I was like, this has so much crazy potential, because there's so many other apps for like testing your just profiles, and you could see these online magazines and online forums, and people have Pinterest and people have Etsy and all this stuff to be able to follow, like, oh, I want these ideas, I want these things, I'm looking for this, or hey, I want to, I mean, half of what is it, those social media influencers, like my favorite 5 bottles, or like the bottom shelf bottles that should belong higher up, or something like to that effect. And you kind of created a space, not kind of, but you did create this space where it's on one clickable, fidgety kind of app. So it's much easier.
Well, and the cool thing is so if you think about all those other spaces, just as you mentioned, right? You're talking about Influencer X, doesn't matter what their name is, but Influencer X, they're all telling you their flavor profile, and they're telling you what they like and how they interacted with a bottle or an experience. And that's great, especially as we talked earlier. If I match to you and we have a very similar taste, that works great. But if I don't necessarily match to you, that doesn't tell me what I like. That only tells me what you like. And let's be honest, tasting spirits is expensive. And if you're not an influencer that gets a company to send you bottles to try, it can be very expensive, because you can't just buy a bottle for $80 and then try it somewhere. And let's be honest, who has the money to go chase down a Pappy Van Winkle and try that to see if it's worth the money that they're going to pay for it? Or find it, wait in line for hours, and all those other things that you have to do to chase a unicorn bottle. So we kind of shortcut that a little bit, and we just give you not only, hey, look, you might actually enjoy Pappy, or you know what? You might actually waste your money if you actually found it and bought it and paid that money. It just doesn't match with what you like.
Yeah, you might end up with a weeded whiskey.
Here's another
this is
bottle.
Trash. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And I think what I love, I know we want to talk about the current projects and everything you got, but Barbook was such a fantastic idea. And I'm glad that it continued and evolved into something where people were discovering more. I, for one, agree with you about, I don't want to waste a bunch of money on stuff that's not going to fit my profile. Like, because I think all of us have had that bottle. It's like, oh my God, I've been hunting this forever. And you haven't. You're like, I regret all that time. Not on the money, but all that time. I could have enjoyed so many of the spirits. Out of curiosity, have you ever, do you have a bottle in mind that you finally tasted after chasing that disappointed you? I know it's kind of off the
disappointed. So I don't want to say that disappointed me. I will say that one that I was shocked that they went for the value they went for.
Okay. That'll work.
So, I'm a fan of a lot of craft brands. I'm a fan of a lot of unicorn brands. I like a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. I've had the full rainbow of Weller. I have, had all of those different ones. I've found them in different locations. Everybody's been a bourbon nerd or a bourbon geek where you've chased those things down and you found them. Hey, I'm self-admitted. I've done it myself. What I'll tell you is that really kind of disappointed in the price point that some of those drew. Oh. And I don't mean that in a way to say that Weller isn't a great product. I actually think it's a fantastic product. One of the things that I think they did probably more genius than anything else was the way they marketed it and drove our interest to a level of chasing it that way. Yeah. But I found that there were so many other products that were just as good or better that I didn't have to chase, and they were sitting on the shelf already. And I wasted so much time chasing. And I think that's the disappointment, is the hunt and the time spent versus the actual quality of the product that I got out. But I think, like you said, they're fantastic products. I just don't think that they were actually worth the hunt that I went through.
Yeah. And I think we previously, multiple times, we've talked about it on the show that some things are overhyped because of just people are scarcity, like false scarcity or something like that. Or people out there say, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So they hype up this giant third party three times the markup of the regular MSRP versus what it should be costing. So if I were to get that bottle at $39, I'm not angry. I'm not mad about it. It's not better than a $39 bottle, but I'm not going to pay $600, whatever the heck some of these bottles go for.
Yeah.
I was just curious if that was something you ran into.
No, absolutely.
Awesome. And with this, the journey to now military and veteran adult beverage, that ecosystem, what was that step? You said you were talking to these brands and speaking to them. Like, was it, I know because of your history and you served, did it just make sense or happenstance?
So kind of two things simultaneously. And this is kind of a funny story. This is an entrepreneur story as well. Mm-hmm. So I went to my very first American Distilling Institute conference to launch the Barbook. And I just had all this energy and we were ready to do it. I called some veteran friends and we were going to be a part of this. And I found a family at ADI. ADI is fantastic. I don't mean this to be a plug for ADI, but I want to say how impactful that was in the journey that we're talking about. So I go to ADI, pitch the Barbook. We make a ton of friends, make a ton of connections, huge, wildly successful with what we intended to do with the Barbook. Here's what I found out. As we go into these rooms, I met so many veterans that created beverage companies or beverage adjacent companies, whether it's the manufacturers of stills or label makers or bottle makers or whatever. There were so many companies and so many veterans in the adult beverage space. And my first ADI, I was kind of like, well, maybe that's a fluke. Maybe it's just because I'm close to DC, whatever. I go to my second ADI, same thing. I get actively involved in ADI's veterans group. And I get engaged with other veterans that are doing a lot of things with that. And I find out that there really are a ton of veterans in the adult beverage industry. But here's where the things kind of fall apart, is that while all of those conferences like ADI put us together in a room and gave us time and space to be veterans and collaborate, what was missing was the follow-up, the action on the back end of actually doing something and building something that would kind of prove to put veteran spirits on a pedestal or as a market category. So met with some friends, got with some former people that I served with, a big group of senior leaders across multiple military branches and levels of government, and decided that we were going to build a nonprofit that was going to take veteran-owned brands and make them a market category. And it was built out of kind of two problem sets that I saw being in those veteran groups that was always asked by multiple veterans and different people in those spaces. So I'll pose them to you. Did you know that if you walk into any military installation and you go to essentially their liquor store, they call them a Class 6, they call them the shopette, the PXs, whatever, the exchanges. But if you go into their version of a liquor store, do you know what brands are the biggest and widely displayed in those places where they showcase, like in the center of the floor, the big display case in the center of the floor? Do you know what that is?
Probably national.
And the answer is that it's some big name. And it really doesn't matter what company it is, but it's some big name. It's whatever big name you see in any other liquor store. It's the same. It's identical. You walk into your local liquor store and the big box store, 4x4, 4 foot tall, 10 foot tall, whatever display that they put out there is the exact same. And it's shocking to me, with so many veterans in the industry, why there's not a dedicated space in there for veteran-owned brands. And we've asked that question. Multiple veterans had asked that question. Why didn't we have a veteran-owned space in these shopping centers? Not only are they catering to the military community, not only are they showing what is possible on the backside, but here's what's most important. You have every administration, every level of government, everybody has talked about when soldiers leave, soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, whatever, when they leave service, we want them to be productive members of society. We want them to go on and get great jobs. We want to help them. We build all these programs. We throw all this money into these programs, but we don't celebrate the ones who've done it right. So if you go back to what I said in the beginning, the veterans that went into adult beverage, they went into the most regulated, most restrictive, most competitive market. Then they became an entrepreneur in that space and they succeeded. And we don't celebrate that. So that's one of the things that we really want to highlight is that we have veterans that not only went into those spaces, but they succeeded and they're doing well.
That is such a weird, it's almost counterintuitive. Like almost very much counterintuitive. It's we talked about it in the previous episode. If you guys ever want to go back and look at the Barbook episode, it's just that some of the smaller brands deserve more love, but it's almost wild to think that a military owned and operated brand or veteran owned operated brand should be one of the first things we're popping up, especially coming from a U.S. government like facility. And that's a wild thing to think that just naturally didn't exist. So you see that it was necessary. You identified that as the biggest gap, and you will probably speak to it better than me. But how now that you have this idea, now you have this first step, now you found the need, and how are you going? What was the approach to filling that need? Like, did you?
So you're right. It's absolutely difficult because the first step is, well, we should just make this happen tomorrow. How? And it's not that easy. There's a whole legislative approach to making that happen. It is much more difficult than anybody ever believes to get products into those stores. But the first step was we wanted to create a community of veteran-owned brands that stood together. And we wanted to find the brand that had done everything very well and the brand that's just starting out, and we want to make them partners. Because in the veteran community, one of the things that I think, so I'll back this up. When we say veteran community, we parse that off into three categories. Veteran owned, very simple. Obviously, we understand what that means, veteran owned. Veteran founded, meaning that, a veteran built the company, but maybe handed that off to a sibling or to a kid or to a wife or a husband. They passed it along. They passed the business on. So it started with a veteran and maybe it moved on to some other thing. And then the other one is veteran allied. And that is this kind of broader model that allows for, my sister served, but I necessarily didn't. My brother served, but I didn't necessarily didn't. Or I'm just a huge passion person for the military community as a whole, but for some reason whatsoever, I was unable to serve. And so we put that in this allied category that allows for a bigger community. And with those three kind of defining factors of what make our community up, then we focused on how do we serve and how do we pull those resources. And you start thinking that there are companies that have done very well, and there are companies that are starting out and trying to figure it out. And we don't compete against each other. We support each other. We do things together. We focus in the same direction. There's no need for us to compete. And I don't mean that in we shouldn't have, a capitalism type system, but I mean that in a way that we can raise each other up together. Jack Daniels is a huge, they're billions of dollars in their company. They make all this kind of stuff. We compete against that. And even if we compete against that, we may take a percentage of their market share where they don't even bat an eye. But it makes a huge difference to an entrepreneur that's starting out. I mean, if you were to think about this, if you were to take $100,000 out of Jack Daniel's annual budget and put that, because now that money went into a veteran-owned spirits brand or hospitality brand, that brand has now become successful and solvent, and they've done what they wanted to do. They've taken care of their family. They've built a company. They've started something. Jack Daniels didn't care about $100,000 and they didn't do it. They give that away in charity donations. You know what I mean? Like, it's a huge tax write-off. So that's what we're trying to do, is say that we're not competing against these things. We're just trying to give them space and a share and a way to do something awesome.
Yeah. And to your point about the not competing, it's not saying that we can't prop each other up and drive each other to be more successful. It's just, there's a bigger pie than people give credit to. There are more people that are drinking. There are more people that are enjoying spirits. There are more people who are not necessarily enjoying spirits. Some of those, like you said, NA brands. And there are, we talked about Whiskey Valor Foundation. They don't necessarily, their whole purpose isn't necessarily about drinking. It's about getting home safe and doing that safe. So there's there's an ecosystem that exists here. And like you said, some of these brands will use 4 branches as an example. I don't know if you're affiliated with them, but they found massive success. They found massive success, right? So their success does not equate to someone else has to be diminished. Other brands still can exist and do things.
Not at all. Not at all. So those guys, and I'll give a huge shout out to Mike and Rick over there at 4 Branches, and the whole team over there. They're doing fantastic things. They're definitely in conversations with us for the things that we're doing and putting together. And as we align with different objectives going forward, we do things with them. And like I said, they're fantastic partners to have out there in the field doing what they're doing. And they're great representatives of, like the military community. We are, like you just said, this is probably the best way to explain this is we're not promoting you must drink to do these kind of things. But what we are promoting is the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
One of the things I tell people all the time, it's kind of a little known fact, and it's actually probably well-known fact. It's just little recognized fact. The very first service member, it's kind of very public, very first service member that left active duty and service went on to become an entrepreneur in the adult beverage industry. If you go back and think of it, George Washington. After he left service, became president. After he left president, he went and started a distillery at Mount Vernon and widely successful. But that's like the pathway for this. And we need to celebrate that and own that as kind of legacy to what some of these people are doing now and not think of it as, oh my gosh, they're creating something that people are going to get drunk and they're going to drink too much. That's not what we're doing. Creating the experiences around the shared beverage of choice. And it can be water. It can be soda. It can be whatever. At the end of the day, the point is that it's the community and the collaboration that comes together. That's the purpose behind this.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you took that kind of a macro look at it, like the bigger picture, this whole ecosystem where you're building around it all and how they could just help each other in different aspects of it. I do want to talk a little, because you're talking about distilleries, breweries, hospitality operators. When you identified, all right, there's a problem. Let's solve it. Let's people like-minded. Let's put this group together. What was the biggest bottleneck, not only of putting everyone together, but that you noticed was a common thread or concern with these smaller brands? So 2-part question.
Yeah, so I would say probably one of the biggest hurdles or bottlenecks for us as starting this was the idea that we're challenging the norms, and that being that most adult beverage industry professionals operate from a standpoint of you must hire a marketing agency with a large expense. You must pay thousands of dollars to build this marketing agency. And I'm not trying to take anything away from marketing agencies. I think they do a fantastic job. I'm not trying to be a marketing agency where we carry that on. Mm-hmm. But some of these brands have viewed this as like, well, wait a minute, you're not charging me $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month. Then it must not be as successful as my guy. I mean, I'm paying this guy $10,000 a month. I mean, he must be the one that's going to get me the brand reach that I'm going to get. And what we try to explain to that over that hurdle is, I understand that. I hear you. And I'm not trying to, sell you snake oil or anything like that. But what I am trying to tell you is that your reach is increased by your brother or your sister's reach, by their brother or sister's reach. And so let's use Tampa as an example, as we're going to get into talking about Tampa. If I was to take 4 Branches bourbon, just 4 Branches bourbon, and I was to say, and they're massively successful, and I love those guys to death, and I think they're fantastic in everything they do, and this is not a ding. But if I was to take just 4 Branches bourbon, and I would just say, you are the only bourbon in this room at the event in Tampa, only one, nobody else is there. They might sell some tickets, they might get some people to come taste, they might get some things going on, but it's not going to be as wildly successful as if I said, I'm going to put 20 different veteran-owned brands, all telling stories, all in the same spot, all at the same time. Now the guy that can't get 5 people to come to their tasting has the same exposure as the guy that can get 1,000 people to come to their tasting. And they all rose up together in that same way. And I didn't charge them anything for it. So I didn't have to pay the $20,000 marketing fee. So that was the challenge to the norm, right? Is that, well, in order to get this kind of exposure, I have to pay all these big things. And what we're trying to express to the challenging opinion is that we're just doing it together. We're making the marketing about the collective instead of about the individual. And once you do that, then it becomes a bigger draw. It becomes a bigger crowd. It becomes a bigger reason to celebrate and a reason to be around versus the one. And I would say probably the second biggest hurdle or challenge that we had in this was, and this is it's a little taboo itself, but challenging the taboo that veterans and adult beverages, challenging that taboo together. And Luis and I from Whiskey Valor and I've had this conversation as well. But there is a thought process in many circles that, well, veterans and alcohol equals bad. You know what I mean? Like there's that
a stigma
kind of. Yeah, there's a stigma that comes with that kind of stuff, that maybe some of those things don't necessarily equal great promotion or great profitability in some of the things that they do, or great marketing messaging. And so that's where we have to challenge that and say, look, we're not promoting consumption of alcohol. Like, if you want to, that's great. We're promoting the collective nature of, being together. That's what we're promoting. And like I said, I'll show you right now. I've got right here a veteran-owned brand that's a water product. It's a fantastic product. I love these guys, Joe and his team out there building Spec Ops water. It's water. It is literally nothing else but water. And if we're going to sit around and enjoy that together at a sporting event, I think it generates the same feeling and the same mindset of hanging out together, enjoying a veteran-owned product that, if I'm enjoying a whiskey or a bourbon or, whatever. So I think the point that we try to make is that it's about the connection. It's about the relationships. It's about the reason why you come together, not necessarily what's in your glass.
I think that's a brilliant way of putting it and thinking about it too. One, I didn't know Spec Ops water existed. So plug for them, because I had no idea that was happening. My ignorance is out
I
here
just
just
had
drinking.
it on my desk, so I had to pull it out because when we start talking, I was like, yeah, I got a water.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, that's how even me, who's in this kind of like space, I've done some of the research. I've worked with you before. I've worked with a couple of these brands. I didn't know Spec Ops water existed, and I should have known something, like anything. And we have and for those at home, it's like, oh, you're a podcast about drinking. No, we've had NA, we've had THC, we've had just straight up, we've had a cooking episode that's like in the archive somewhere with a Patreon. So if you ever want to find out about that,
should be awesome, by the way. I am going to have to check that out, by the way.
So there's a couple, but there's some really interesting things out there that I didn't realize was even going on. And not to keep talking about Lewis, but even the DUI and giving little life lessons and talking to people about after service. Like, this is stuff that people don't necessarily know that is a need or that exists. So putting them all together in one spot where they will all get kind of equal footing to get exposure and talk to people. Because I will tell you that as much as I love the spirit industry, there's only so many laps I can do around a whiskey fest before it all tastes like the exact same. But if you're talking to me about other aspects of the veteran owned or veteran affiliated brands, it gives me more, and it gives a lot more kind of, it combats that stigma that we were just discussing.
Sure.
Now, with that being said, we're going to talk about Frontline Tastings. I know that, you designed it to, just tell us, one, what is Frontline Tastings? What was the purpose in it? And how does that work towards pushing or supporting veteran founded brands to put into retail space?
Yeah. So Frontline Tastings is probably one of our it's our crown jewel, if you will, for craft. It is what we wanted to do. And quite honestly, I'm going to give plugs all day long to people that have helped us along the way. And I've got to do this I'll give a plug right off the bat to Military Influencer Conference and Cortez Riggs at Military Influencer Conference, because I randomly had an encounter with Cortez on social media. We chatted, we talked for a little bit, and the next thing you know, we're talking about the idea that he wanted a social hour involved in Military Influencer Conference, but he wasn't sure how to make all of those pieces happen because he didn't do beverage industry. And I was like, funny you should ask, because that's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that with you. Let's make this work. So Military Influencer Conference, Tampa, September 23 through 26. They have given us an evening on the 24th of September. We're going to be the happy hour. We're going to be a tasting event. We're doing this as part of that. And we're calling it Frontline Tastings. Now, so what Frontline Tastings is we're going to take those 20 veteran-owned adult beverage brands, and we're going to put them in a room. And we've done a couple things with this. One, we have said, we want your founders. We want the brand owners. We want the storytellers. We want, when Arthur comes and walks the room, we want Arthur to be connected in a storytelling experience. We don't want Arthur to just get the random person that's like, next. Like, that's not what we want. We want the experience. I want you to spend more than 2 minutes at their table. I want you to actually get to know, why do you care that Winglore Spirits made a brand? Why do you care what Warrior Dog Spirits or Osea or any of these other brands? Why do you care what they do? Yeah. And you get to meet the owner and understand the cause and the purpose behind it. Because one of the cool things veteran-owned brands do, sorry to dovetail here, but one of the cool things they do, most of them have a cause. There's a reason that they created this brand. And so they'll all tell you about it. And I'm not going to get into their reasons because they'll tell you at the thing. But that's what we're doing. We're bringing all 20 plus of those brands together in one room, and we're letting people experience them. Now, two things we get to do for the beverage brands. We said we need to make this good for them in a way that makes this a deal. Average, depending on the event you go to, if you're a brand, a whiskey brand, a spirits brand, whatever, any of those whiskey tastings you've been to, those brands have to pay for that table. They have to pay to show up to pour samples. So here's what they're paid for. If they come to an event, let's just assume they're going to anyone randomly, they're in somewhere $5,000 to $10,000 just to be there, and they're giving away their spirits. You know what I mean? They're pouring samples and they're giving away, and they're hoping that maybe you buy enough money or enough bottles to offset their costs in some sort of way. It doesn't ever work that way. It makes no sense in a lot of ways. The brands that host the events are the ones that usually make the money and put all this together. So we decided, again, we're upsetting the apple cart on this. We're flipping this. No brand pays for a table. No brand pays for a table. We give every veteran-owned, veteran-allied brand a free table and a free spot. Why? Because they're already paying with their spirits. They already bought their spirits, and they're bringing them, they're donating them to the event, and they're pouring their samples. Now, we do sell tickets. That's how we raise money. We have additional donations you can give with your tickets. That's how we raise money to continue to do these. But all those brands, they get the access for free. The second thing we did was we said, it's not enough if I just give you access to 1,000 people to pour your spirits and give a tasting event. You flew all the way to Tampa. You came all the way down here. You got to do more than that. So what did we do? We pulled all those brands and we created a separate night that is specifically about media and industry partners. We have distribution, retail, podcasters, local influencers, and all those people. We gathered them for a one night only kind of event where they get exclusive access to these brands, the brand owners. They get to shove a camera in their face, ask them all kinds of questions. But those brand owners also get to meet who are the local spirits buyers in Tampa, who's actually going to make a deal for them where they can turn these things into real money. And then the partners that have come out of that have been fantastic. Like, we thought we would do something small, maybe 50 people, something like that, kind of a business meeting kind of thing. That has exploded into something much more. And it's wildly successful, and we can't wait to do everything in Tampa.
That is awesome. And I know that obviously you guys have heard, you very likely see me there. But I think that's what's one of the things I kind of skated past, but you brought these brands together. You put that all there. What was one piece of common strategic advice you had to give to these first responders / veteran transitioning into a highly competitive industry? Like, there are some people who had a dollar and a dream and wanted to get in and do something like this. And it could be very intimidating. Let's be honest. You said it very plainly earlier. They're competing against Jack Daniels. They're competing against Four Branches, who is now an established, very well-known brand. What was a piece of advice that you gave to people trying to do something with this idea and this thought in mind?
So one of the things that, yeah, you're right. It's intimidating.
It's daunting.
It's competitive. It's kind of daunting. David and Goliath speak, if you will, when they look at this. You don't know the right industry professionals. You don't know who to connect with. And one of the things that we tell them all is, I'm not asking you to do this alone. I'm asking you to do this in a collective. And it's amazing. It really was. No other better way to say this than to say, if you had your own brand, if Arthur made a brand tomorrow and you decided, I'm going to take it to market, you would have a hard time getting in the right rooms with the right people to sell your product and do certain things and get it in a right audience or the right store or the right place. You would have a hard problem. And it's just the way the industry works. But being part of 20, being part of 100, being part of 1,000, being a part of this group, I can go get in that room, and I'm nobody special. I'm not this guy that just has this woo industry access, but the collective can get into a room. The coalition of all these brands can get into a room, and they can now negotiate for deals that maybe one couldn't negotiate for. We have brand partners now that have come out and given us things just because they're like, the coalition of brands that you have together, that's impressive. That's what we want to support. They may have never done that just for one, but they'll do it for them all. I mean, Yeti Coolers is now a sponsor of what we're doing down there in Tampa. They've donated a bunch of product and they want to be a part of what we're doing. They're giving stuff away as, fundraising ideas. Sam Adams Beer. Sam Adams, the Boston Beer Company, they are coming down. They're going to join us on the 22nd of September. And I got it. Sam Adams isn't a veteran-owned brand, but you know what they have? They have a whole competition that Sam Adams built with Jim Cook and the Boston Beer Company. They built where they offer a competition for veteran entrepreneurs to get into the beverage industry. And so that's huge. One of the things that they offer on their own, and it's called the Great American Dream. And it's not necessarily, like I said, it's not competitive to us. They're partnering with us. They're going to be a part of what we're doing. And so we're showcasing them as part of what they're doing and what they're building collectively together. NASCAR, like who doesn't love, all the things that NASCAR does? NASCAR is giving us a huge experience with the Daytona 500 for these brands to now be a part of. Awesome. So the partnerships and the people are coming together. And all of these things are creating opportunities where these brands now are going to get the level of exposure, like I said, that one couldn't get alone.
First, there's Yeti Coolers and stuff. Let me know about. I'm just like, I'm second. No, but that's awesome. And to your point, there are a lot of brands. Heck, I am not a veteran, and I still support a lot of the things you're doing. So I can't imagine that a massive brand like Sam Adams doesn't have multiple veterans who work there, operate there, or at least show appreciation as a brand to the veterans in the military. So it only makes sense that they would want to, but that's so awesome that you're able to now that you've entered these rooms and these spaces with these brands, that you're able to continue those relationships. Obviously, with the success of Frontline Tastings and everything that you've got going and SupportCraft, it's only going to continue to open more doors and more opportunities to be able to continue supporting it. And for those at home who don't necessarily understand that this is a nonprofit. 501. It's a 501c3. So it's 100% nonprofit. SupportCraft. Michael's not running around lining his pockets to do this. This is like a labor of love and something that matters to him. So I know that we've talked to multiple nonprofits, and it's never easy, right, to be able to navigate this because there's so many brands. It's like, so what's in it for us? And the fact that these brands have said, I don't care, I want to do this. Says a lot about your mission, right? And says a lot about what you're doing.
I will tell you. So a 501c3 is there are some people that have some sort of thought process about what some of those are. Here's what I'll tell you about ours. All of our board members, 100% volunteer. There is not one dime that is being paid to anybody that does anything for craft. It isn't happening. Now we will admit that we are looking at, hiring some people for specific roles, like a media person or a contracted cameraman or something like, for little services that we need along the way. But for the majority of this, like all of our board members, 100%, we're donating our time. We're donating our efforts. There is no money coming back to us. Every dime we raise goes right back into creating the next event. And that's it. I don't know many nonprofits that can operate that way. We do it, like I said, labor of love. You're on that point 100%. And we don't tout that to say that, you have to come with us because we're so great. We just want you to understand that realistically, we're not taking anything. Any of these deals that we negotiate for the brands, anything that has to do with money, we truly look at the brands and say, now that this is a money conversation, this is a you and them conversation, and I just facilitated you being in the room, I'm going to step out and I'm going to let you guys handle your business. And I hope it works out well for you, but I'm not going to be the one that says the money comes through me to them. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way.
You're not like an agent.
Yeah, we're not. And I don't need it. So the way we get paid, two ways, and I don't want to say get paid, but the way we generate revenue for the nonprofit to operate is we sell tickets to our events. Which, that's how anything else works. We do that to the general public. And then the second way is we look to sponsors, donors, vendors, any of these veteran-owned brands, and we say, hey, did we provide any value to you? And if we did, kick back to the cause and let us do it again. If this was, beneficial in a way that made sense to you, that you would have paid a marketing agency a fortune for, and just give what you can. Pay back to us some of it so that we can do it again. And we're going to do it the next time and the next time and the next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And part of the reason why I mentioned it and brought it up, it's because I know that there's always stigmas, right? That go with like, oh, nonprofits, all that, especially modern days, it's easy to doubt. And I don't think that that's a fair assessment of the situation, of course. So I think it's like, I want to make sure if you're not going to prop it up, I will. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. If you're not going to say the thing that might upset some people, I can, it's my show. Like I can do what. Now the People's Poor Awards. First, help people understand what that is and what's the purpose of the awards.
Yeah, so 2027, the People's Poor Awards should go live. We've got it built. It's kind of in the background. We're collecting some precursory data and trying to put some things together. But here's the thought process, right? Beverage brands, again, whether adult beverage or whether veteran-owned or otherwise, they pay a ton of money to submit products to beverage competitions. The average beverage competition costs somewhere between 500, I would say, let's say $250 on the low end to probably $750 on a high end. About $500 is your average submission for a brand or a category. Plus, they've got to send a couple bottles or cans or whatever product into the system. And then they get a room full of judges, industry professionals, people that have titles longer than, a sheet of paper that explain all the reasons that they are qualified to tell Arthur what you should drink. That's what they do. And these all people come together and they do this. So here's what we said. Again, we're going to flip it on its head. We're going to use Frontline Tastings. And we're going to use all these events that we put together through Frontline Tastings as your competition. And we're going to collect data from the people that are taking part in these events. And we're going to collect their reviews live from the products that they're in these events. And that will now be what judges your product. It will be Arthur in the room. It will be Michelle in the room, and Joe and Smith and Susie and all these other people that came into a room that tried your product uninstructed, unencumbered by preconceived notions of what it should taste like or what else. Their only judgment is their wallet. And so they're going to judge it on a few things. We do this in a very, very simple, very basic category technique for the People's Poor Awards. What did it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like on the back end, the finish of a product, right? Well, we also care about, what does your bottle look like? If I saw it in a liquor store, how often would I pick that up, or would I just walk by it to the next bottle? And we care about that. Your bottle, your packaging, all those kind of things. And the other thing we care about is price point.
Yeah.
So we use those 5 categories as kind of the judging of the bottle. Is we want to know your price point. If I'm a consumer and I found out that you've got a fantastic bottle, great taste, great flavor profile, everything seems to match, but then you're hitting $100, I'm like, I'd never buy it. I would never buy your product because it's just too expensive for me. I'm not going to do it. And that all factors into what we call the People's Poor Awards. And that will go live in 2027 as we start to roll out these events. We're pulling in this data, and it will award these brands. It will say, hey, you know what? Spec Ops Water got an award because they're the only water that, met all these things. maybe they got a silver award, or whatever the award may be, or maybe Warrior Dog Spirits got one because they're X, and we'll categorize them. There'll be whiskeys versus vodkas versus low alc, no alc, THCs, whatever. All the categories that exist in the regular beverage industry. But the point of this being is that I want the people who are actually buying products to vote in a way that they don't feel like they're voting. Just interact with it, get to know it. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And I think that is much more valuable. If I want an award from the people saying that my product is number one, I think that's much more valuable than if I want an award from such and such society somewhere that just says that I'm a great bottle. Personally, I don't pay attention to the awards out there. Think of it like this.
I compare it to movie critics.
100%.
There are plenty of movies that critics are like, "Oh, this is awful. This is terrible." And I walk in and I was like, "I enjoyed every single bit of that movie." Or the flip where they said, "This is one of the best things ever." I'm like, "What the fuck did I just watch for 3 hours? I want my time back."
So my wife, Dolly, Dolly. Dolly makes us every year when the Academy Awards comes out, she makes us watch like the top 5 movies.
Yeah.
I literally am plucking my eyes out when we watch these movies. And some of these movies, I won't say the name because I'm not trying to down anybody's product or anything like that in the movie industry, but I watched this movie and I literally watched it like it's a train wreck. And I can't believe I'm watching this. And I was waiting for it to be over. And when it ended, I was like, did you really just waste 2 hours of my time watching this movie? And she was like, I thought it was great. And I was like, no, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And it won so many awards and it was like this fantastic. I'm like, I don't know what these people are thinking. Yeah.
And once again, similar to the movie industry, I don't know who's in the room picking these awards. So I don't know who got paid by who to be in these, what categories are all this. And there were plenty of movies out. And just to keep on the movie analogies, like how many times did Leonardo DiCaprio should have won an award and did not, or something to that? It's like, wait a minute, we all saw all these movies, right? Yes. So I would compare it to that with these awards and double gold and double blind or whatever, all these random awards for spirits. Heck, I could start the Last Call podcast award ceremony and not tell anyone and just put that on a label somewhere. So there's something more genuine about the normal everyday consumer. Because let's be clear, I'm not comparing myself to a guy who has spent 2 lifetimes refining his palate to pick up on the cigar smoke back end next to the vanilla and cherry and dates. I want to know what the other consumer that drinks this product can enjoy it and has similar profiles. I'm more concerned about what he thinks than the person who this is their whole life.
To that point, it's probably, that person, they make their own point. You are the reason you are so prestigious in your accommodation or your accolades and all these things that you have going on is because you're one of one. You're this expert sommelier that has all these, qualifications. Problem is nobody else is like that.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, Anne that goes down to the liquor store that picks up a bottle for her husband she shops in 2 ways, or he shops in 2 ways. And it's very simple. They go for category. Am I getting a bourbon? Am I getting a vodka? Am I getting a tequila? Like category. That's it. If you walk into any liquor store in the country, you'll see the signs hanging up or marking the shelves, category. Everybody goes for category first. They find their aisle. Boom. I go to my category. The second thing they look for is name recognition.
Yep.
And that's it. They go for what names they know and what brands they recognize. And if they get to the third, it's price. It's 100% price. And it matters nothing else. Like nobody is looking at, well, I wonder if this one tastes better than that one. Only your super curious consumers are even caring about that.
Yep. Or those who have heard the, word of mouth or read something online or something out there. And that's a whole other thing. It's like, yeah, I talked to a friend who highly recommends this specific bottle. I was like, oh, I hate to always use them, but they're the number one people recognize. Buffalo Trace. The moment people are like, oh my God, Buffalo Trace. And like, I've had so many people walk into when I did work in a liquor store. I was, hey man, you got Buffalo Trace? I was like, I have like 18 other things that are as good. I promise you. But you're right. They look for the name recognition. They look for the price. And then after they've figured out the category they're feeling that night. And that's it. A good amount of the time. unfortunately, and I'm not disparaging people who are more well-rounded. This is not about you, so don't feel so sensitive. But for the average consumer, yeah, you're 100% right.
But you know what? Good for them if they are more well-rounded and they know the category better than they are. But again, the awards program that we're talking about is built on the idea that the average person is not. Exactly. And nor do they have the time for it, especially in a world where we want instant gratification and instant reviews and instant things. Why not give Yelp is a horrible way to view this because it's a little more in depth than Yelp, but why not give some sort of actionable review off of what people think real time? And we pull stuff from the Barbook for that. We pull stuff from Frontline Tastings for that. But all of those things pull back into the People's Pour Awards. And that becomes a live, measurable database of actual information from actual people. Yeah. And you meet them across the country. And so it is not Michael's circle from Virginia or Arthur's circle from Florida or, somebody else's circle from California, whatever. It is national, and you move it across all platforms.
Beyond the trophy, how do these awards connect to your organization's workforce development and scholarship program? I know that there's other aspects of SupportCraft.
Yeah, so we're in the process of developing. We've actually had a few conversations with a few big veteran education programs and spirits industry education programs to talk about how we can build workforce development in a way that matters. There is a huge, and I don't want to give their name yet because we haven't formalized a partnership with them yet, but there's there's a huge workforce development organization that works with the spirits industry that we're actively consulting with to build something out into a way that morphs their program into the larger beverage industry and focuses on veterans. So that's one. The other thing we want to do is we don't want to rewrite anything. I'm not looking to create the next big program. I'm looking to connect the dots to programs that already exist. And I actively participate in programs that exist, and I want to help them grow and be better. So if you want to get into this space and I find out that there's a company out there that already does a veterans transition platform program that does a marketing program, I'm not going to build a marketing program. I'm just going to validate that their program is perfect and works very well. And then I'm just going to help you get into their program. If you want to learn, for example, I mentioned ADI before. One of the partnerships we're working with ADI is, again, I have a huge affinity for ADI. If you want to learn about the adult beverage industry from an educational perspective, trade, industry, the whole thing, from everything about it, why do I need to create a trade show that builds education and platform? I'm just going to help you get membership into ADI and be a part of what they're doing. And that's one of the things we're working with ADI is some sort of membership agreement to where I can help people go into that. The other thing we're doing is, let's say you want to start a brewery. Arthur, you decide tomorrow, you're like, I'm getting out of military service and I want to start a brewery. And I'm not sure what I want to do. And I'm like, hey, that's a fantastic idea. But before you do, let me go introduce you to my friends over at, this brewery down the road. And Craft is going to pay your wages for 2 weeks. And we're going to put you over there and you're going to go work for them as an apprentice. At the end of 2 weeks, you decide if you want to own a brewery. You want to create a brewery. Maybe you decide you just want to work for those guys. And maybe there's a job at the end. Or maybe you decide that, no, I can do that. Okay, great. Then maybe they're your mentors. Okay. All of those things become possible, and those are what we're building out.
I like that. I like the fact, and you're right, though. Why reinvent the wheel? If I could just connect the right people who've already established it and been doing it well, why am I going to try to do something else that we don't need to? That feels like a misuse of resources, time, and money.
Sure.
Yeah. So, connecting those people and putting those people together, it's probably the best way of doing it. Most efficient. Efficiency is key.
Well, and it becomes competition if you do it the other way, right? You start trying to take from this one, and then everybody's trying to draw from the same pool. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be in that space. I don't. So here's another example. Whiskey Valor. I think what they do is fantastic. We are not competing organizations. We're the only two that I'm aware of that are veteran organizations that focus in the adult beverage industry. However, he focuses on one aspect, I focus on another aspect. And as as it turns out, we work together. He's going to be in Tampa. They're going to be a part of what we're doing in Tampa, and we will do anything we can at every chance we get to support everything they're doing. They helped us out in Nashville. They're going to help us out in Tampa. So there's no reason to compete for space. We just have to figure out the right way to make sure the organizations work together. Because like I said, they're fantastic and I love everything they're doing. If any way I can support, I do.
Yeah. Like I said, I like Lewis a lot. Just met him not so long ago, so still feeling it out. Yeah, Lewis, you heard me. Just being funny, but no, I think that's perfect example. Actually, well, speaking of how consumers and everyone can support, I know we're about that time, but what's the best way for the everyday consumer to support craft and its members, even if you're not a drinker or a consumer of alcohol?
So there's a few ways, and I would say the easiest one is show up and be there. Whether you're you're a consumer alcoholic beverages, adult beverages, whatever space, whatever, you can always show up at our events. You can be there, you can hang out, you can meet the brands. It's more than tasting the samples. Even if you don't want to taste the samples, your ticket price is a donation to the charity itself, and you get to be there and be a part of it. So that's one way. If you can't make it to the events, there's always the path to just donate what you can and support. Every dollar helps, everything helps. Most of what we have built, it comes off small donations, $20 or less, people just kicking in what they can. And that's what we do. And then I would say the third way is if you want to be at one of our events, but you're not somebody who wants to partake, but you want to really support, volunteer. We always have opportunities for volunteers to help work our, event spaces, our tables or our setups or teardowns or any of the things that we're doing. We'd love to have you. We've got a couple that are joining us in Tampa that are just straight volunteers that reached out and said, I just want to help. And we love that. We've got that. So those are all ways you can help with our different events. I will give one last plug and call to action, if you will, out there. By the time this airs and goes live on the radio, the ticket link will be available. It is fully out there. I've closed all the arrangements that need to be made. Craft is going to be at the Daytona 500. Craft is partnered with the Daytona International Speedway, and we are going to be unfurling the Honor and Remembrance flag as part of the Daytona 500 69th Memorial run. And we can't wait to be a part of it. So we are selling tickets for people to join us on the field to help unfurl the flag, number one. Then you get to be front row for the concert. It's going to happen right after that. And then you get to go sit in the stands and enjoy the whole race. And the tickets that we're getting as part of this thing are going for like $350 a ticket. Like, they're ridiculous tickets. We're doing them for $150. And all the 150 is going to support craft. It's part of the large organization, helps us do the things that I'm going to be there. Like, I'm bringing my kids, like, we're doing the whole thing. So I would tell anybody else, if you're interested, you've never been to a race, or you love NASCAR, this is the cheapest way you're going to get into see a NASCAR race.
When's the NASCAR?
And the best. And it's a great cause. So why not be a part of it?
When is that race?
It's February 21st in Daytona.
Awesome.
So if you're not from Florida, you're not in that area.
Plenty of time to come there.
It's a great time to go to Florida. It's February.
Yeah, it's the best time. Don't come in July. It's terrible. It's awful
right?
out here. It's anytime I see people, oh yeah, I'm visiting Disney in summer. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Come in December, bro. Like, don't come here. Yeah. But yeah, definitely we'll share the links in the show notes and make sure that we follow that up. We'll probably share as well closer to the event itself, and Michael will make sure that we're aware of when the tickets sell out and how close they are. So, because I'm sure those will go fast. I have plenty of friends. One of my friends, David, aka Gata, he's a massive a fan of motorsports and races. He took me to my first F1 a couple years ago. It was like, oh, this is actually pretty dope. But I'm a massive nerd. It has less to do with the racing and more about I want to know about this and these rules. And that's not today. But
tell him to come join us. We'd love to have him come down. Like I said, we're going to be on the field, pulling out the flag and having a great time. So why not?
Of course, I'll let him know. And I will definitely drop in the show notes if you want to participate in SupportCraft in Tampa. What are the dates for those that are not part of the media?
Yeah, so Tampa is the 24th of September is the Frontline Tastings Tampa in association with Military Influencer Conference. You do not have to be an attendee of MIC, Military Influencer Conference, to come to the Frontline Tastings. It is at the Tampa Marriott Water Street, downtown Tampa, right there on the Riverwalk area. So it's beautiful. You get to come down, enjoy some spirits, and then walk around downtown. if you're a business looking for a networking event or connection to the craft beverage industry, whether it's marketing, retail, sales, or just anything, if you're looking, we have a private industry event on the 22nd of September at a different location. If you're interested, Arthur, you'll have both the links for that as well. We're calling that our media and industry social. So both those events are 22 and 24 September, and we look forward to seeing all of you there.
Awesome, man. Well, Michael, anything else? Where can people follow you? Where can people see you on social media and keep up to dates?
Yeah, so on all the socials, SupportCraft or Craft, you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, anything that's out there. You can find us out there. You can search me on LinkedIn, and all the links are there as well. And I'll share the links with you as well.
Of course, man, anytime. Honestly, I'm glad that we reconnected. I know we have both been massively busy running around doing things. But it's great to see the success and continued growth of what you started, man. It's been a long time, so happy to see it. Proud of everything you're doing, and keep it up. However I can support, I will continue to do so. So,
well, I just will close with this, and you can clip it if you need to. So here's the mark. I would just say this: congratulations to you and your beautiful wife. And enjoy. It's going to be a great occasion for you. Low stress. You should enjoy everything that's coming with this. It'll be a great day. And my wife is looking forward to meeting your wife. And don't let them talk alone for too long.
No, God, no. There's quarantine. There's quarantine. We don't need anyone exchanging notes. No, I'm joking. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And tell the missus I said hello again. For everyone listening at home, don't forget to support Craft and support everything they're doing. And even if you aren't someone who is necessarily part of that and part of the spirits industry, or you can't physically make it, there's a website where you can support. The links will be in the bio of this episode. And as Michael said, every little bit helps. Donations of under $20, all that go a long way. So do what you can. Outside of that, guys, we will see you next week. Make sure you drink responsibly, take care of yourselves, and just be good, share a pour with somebody, make some memories, and see you next week. Bye, guys. There's nothing quite like mixing up a refreshing summer cocktail or pouring a neat glass of your favorite spirit and stepping out into your patio as the sun goes down. But down here in Central Florida, we all know the one thing that could instantly ruin that perfect evening vibe: mosquitoes. You're just trying to enjoy the tasting notes, and instead you're swatting away the local wildlife. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Burn Termite and Pest Control. Summer is right around the corner, and Burn is here to help you reclaim your backyard. Their targeted mosquito treatments are exactly what you need to keep your outdoor spaces comfortable, relaxing, and bite-free all summer long. So don't let bugs crash your next patio happy hour. Give the local experts at Burn Termite and Pest Control a call today at 321-297-7985 to get your yard summer ready. Again, that's 321-297-7985. Call Burn Termite and Pest Control, and cheers to a pest-free summer.